Hi everyone, Sue Matsuki here with another Sue's Muse for NiteLife Exchange. Today I have two muses and they happen to be married and they're a wonderful couple. Please welcome Chrissy and Dan Pardo. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi, Sue. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having
So
us.
glad you can join us. So I have to say, full disclosure, I don't review anymore, but when I went and saw their show, Dreams Don't Come True in Pennsylvania, I had that kind of reviewer's need to write and to tell people what a great show it was. And I think if I remember correctly, I compared you to a modern day Keely Smith and Louis Primo. Do you guys know who they are?
He does.
I
Yes.
knew I knew Louis Prima more so than his counterpart, but
It's
I
kind of
was
like opposite though, where Chrissy's more Louis and you're more you're more Keely. But they're a wild couple. If you don't know them, you'll go down a rabbit hole. Check them out,
sure.
But hold on one second. I'm hearing I'm hearing a beep beep beep. That must have been my phone. It always happens. It always happens in an interview. So the two of you, how long have you been married and how did you guys meet?
So we have been married for 11 years and we met on the very first day of college. We are both from Pennsylvania. I was born and raised there. Dan was born in
I
California.
moved when I was very, very little.
Yeah, like baby. And we decided to both stay in PA because back then Pennsylvania had a very reasonably priced state school system. And back then we were both like, well, we want to be music teachers and we don't want to pay a lot of money for it. So we both ended up at a little school called Westchester University of Pennsylvania, where we were both in the music program and we were both in the honors college. So we had our own special orientation away from like the rest of the school
Yeah,
because
so
of
it's
that.
just like a core group of what, 40
Yeah,
people
there's
or
like
so.
40 of us. Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
intimate. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, like we had
And they
our own.
forced us all to live together on the same floor of our dorm building. It was pretty wild.
It was a little insulated space, and then even beyond that, the music and music adjacent people within that group really became quite close.
Mhm.
And we had a piano in the basement of our dorm building, so we would always go down and do our laundry and sing show tunes
Jam
and
session.
yeah,
Yeah, we would do
seriously.
this
So
almost
let me
every
ask you
single night.
both. I'm
Yeah.
going to ask Chrissy first. Back
Yes.
in college, what was your biggest dream and your aspiration? And then I want to ask you, Dan, that same question. Was it because in your case, Dan, you became the musical director to the Stars here in New York. You're an amazing musical director. But then when I heard you sing, I'm like, dude, you got to sing more because you're amazing.
I will
So,
be.
so Chrissy, tell me a little bit about what back in the day, you're in this college in
Hmm.
Pennsylvania. What was your dream?
To be honest, coming from Pennsylvania, I didn't really have big dreams. And I know that's a really strange thing to say, but like, watching, a lot of people we knew, like I'm from an area that's just south of the Lehigh Valley, which when I was growing up was going through a really bad economic downturn. It's home to Bethlehem Steel. I would drive past this defunct steel factory every single day on the way to piano lessons, on the way to dance class. And I kind of saw that and was like, maybe dreams are dead. Maybe I should play it safe. So even though I was in high school and I was really excelling in a lot of different fields, um, I was the star of the school musical. I was the first chair flutist in the band, in the archdiocesan band, for all like the Catholic kids. And I was also really good at like Spanish and stuff too. But I looked at all these things I was good at, and I was like, none of these are a career. That's
Mhm.
not safe. I should probably just be a teacher. And that's how I ended up attempting to go into music education. And the only thing that really came out of all that education I got was my husband.
Aw.
That,
That's so
that's not
sweet.
entirely
And
true.
speaking of your husband, tell me about, I assume that piano in the basement, you were playing it a lot for other people.
Yeah.
Is that how that started or?
Yeah, I mean, I was playing piano since I was 4. I was on stage since I was 6,
Did
and
a lot of community theater.
I did over probably close to 3 dozen shows, through the end of high school, mostly in community theater. I had a very small public school. We didn't even have a musical until my junior year of high school because, ironically, our shop teacher, who grew up doing musicals himself, kind of started a club out of nothing for the sake of his son, who was my friend Mike in my same class. And I my dream was kind of to be a high school choir director because those were the mentors of mine that I looked up to and who kind of shepherded my talents. And it wasn't until I guess was it the summer after freshman year? No.
Well, I think when you were in high school, one of the people who founded your community theater was
Yeah.
also the music supervisor and music director at the Goodspeed Opera House.
Right. So when I was a senior in high school, we were having this 35th anniversary concert in celebration of this community theater where I was doing a lot of shows both on and off stage. And the founder of the theater came down and he's like, "Whoa, who's this kid?" So I went and did an internship with him. I guess it was the summer after freshman year.
Yeah.
And, it was an incredible summer. I was working with Paul Williams. I was working with John McDaniel. I was working with a lot of Broadway vets. And I'm like, wow, that was fun. Time to go back and being a music teacher. And, all that potential just kind of slipped out the window. And I got a phone call or an email, I don't remember which, as I was finishing up college. And it was my mentor and one of the associate producers there. And they said, "Hey, you were here doing this internship for the summer. Would you be interested in coming back to do a full season with us?" And at that point, it was like, I can push off teaching a year. Why don't I try it? And I didn't even realize that there was like a world of theatrical music direction that people could pursue professionally. Despite doing a lot of theater growing up, I didn't really go into New York or Philly to see a lot of professional theater. So those career options weren't
Here comes your
present to
kitty.
me. Our cat's just off camera.
I hear a little ear.
Yes.
Better than the butt.
Yes.
But yeah, I would say that my dream was just to use my talent in a way uh, to make a difference and working with kids, which I still do. I work with Harlem School of the Arts. I work with a tap studio playing for classes and other educational adjacent uh, ventures. But
Super. Now, it's interesting because I'm from Waterbury, Connecticut, which is a little mill town.
oh, I know
So,
Waterbury.
I was a big fish in a small pond, similar to what you guys are describing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
You had your little safe nook, and coming to New York was to see other people in Broadway shows. And, the dream wasn't allowing me to think bigger, and I could actually come in and audition. So I kind of had that small town I'm talented and I know I'm talented mentality, but then what do you do with it?
yeah.
So your show basically, Dreams Don't Come True in Pennsylvania, your show basically is a story and a journey about how you embraced your emerging and growing talent with each year, and then how did this show and the concept of the show come to be? Did one of your, singing people that you work for talk you into it? How did it come to be?
I think, the whole thing, dreams don't come true in Pennsylvania, it kind of comes from a lot of conversations we had about growing up there and, how we were weighing the options of what to do, when we grew up and left college. And I think we never really saw ourselves coming back to PA because when we graduated, everyone we knew kind of just followed the set out path. They got married. A lot of times, a lot of people we knew, they like went back home to their high school sweetheart and like got married.
Like moved into the house that belonged to their grandma or
Yeah, like
something.
their grandma died. They were able to move into
That's
grandma's house.
Waterbury. That's the same, like my
Yeah.
same background. Yeah, yeah.
And they had kids and like at like 23 and taught and are still teaching today
Mhm.
and
And that's not to say that that was
no, those things
past
are those
that.
things are awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and it's something I think about every day. I'm like, oh man, maybe I should have done that. But that's why I've always said that, they say Virginia is for lovers. I say Pennsylvania is for lovers because, in New York City, we know we're both almost 40 now, and we know most people we know are, single, unmarried people. Everyone we know from Pennsylvania has been married for like 15 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're like, Pennsylvania is for lovers, but it's not for dreamers.
Not for
Because
dreamers.
because dreams do not come true here.
Yeah,
And
it was fun. The original title when we were pitching this idea was Pennsylvania's for Lovers, Not for Dreamers. And then I was like, wait, isn't that a different state?
it was
Like,
too close to like Virginia.
yeah, I'm like, no, we can't claim that.
But yeah, at the same time, that's still part of our story because we met and fell in love in Pennsylvania. We were married at 25, and But as far as making your dreams come true, like we don't know anyone who like stayed there and is like, living some like crazy dream life.
Mm.
But at the same time, as we reflect on our 11th year in New York City, I can't say we're doing that either.
Yeah, I mean, we're
So what
just,
are you doing now, Chrissy? Are you teaching music or?
I'm not teaching music actually. What's it called? I'm singing now as an artist, I'm singing now, but all of my education, my formal education has actually been in the flute. Um, And the thing about trying to break into teaching flute in New York City is that there are, three, four really stellar New York City conservatories. And unless you have a diploma from one of those, people's moms don't really want you teaching their kids. So I'm like, whatever. So voice, it's something I do well, but I can't say it's something that I know about enough to be able to be like, I could teach this. Like I'm really knowledgeable about this. I know what I do, but I'm not sure how to tell people how to do just that. So I work for a very large catering company that I've actually been with for the last like 9 years or so. And it's at first I was like, a stupid job, and I have to dress like a boy and have to carry heavy stuff. But honestly, I'd have to say this job and its flexible scheduling because I choose when I want to work. So I can work as much or as little as I want to. So if I have the show coming out, I can just like take off for 2 weeks and it's totally okay. And I've been there long enough that I'm actually at a pretty high position in the company, which is really great. And it's kind of allowed me to do all the things I want to do. So I can do my show, I can do the traveling that I want to do, and still pay our mortgage. So honestly, it's not that bad.
Can I talk about the show a little bit? It's interesting because, I'm getting from you very similar to myself, kind of you're a jack of all trades. You can do a lot of things really well. And back in the day, it was what one of those things is going to come forefront and
Hmm.
you're
right.
going to excel at. Because it's really frustrating if you like doing all those different things, which I personally did. I was a dancer first, and then, it's kind of frustrating. And I look at these kids on Broadway, and I'm so covetous and envious of the fact that at 7 or 8 years old, they know what they want to do and then they
Oh
push
yeah.
it.
Oh my
So
God.
isn't that amazing? I mean, it frustrates me to no end. But here you are. Your show was a mixture of deliciousness, literally Irish step dancing on
Yeah.
Yeah.
board with your sister,
Yeah.
playing flute, singing opera, singing Broadway belt. Like I described your voice as there's no top or bottom.
Mm.
I mean, it's just if she's in full belt position, it's just perfect technique. I don't know who taught you, but your school in Pennsylvania obviously taught you well because you belt, and like sometimes when people belt, my throat hurts because I'm expecting blood to come spewing out of their ears. But you have
Yeah.
this beautiful technique where I'm like, oh, she can't possibly go any higher. And then boop, there it is. Just book, there it is. And then you, Dan, I've seen you play for Richard Skipper and Goldie DeVere and all these
Yeah.
other great people. And then there's this voice, and I'm really glad you're using it. And I did suggest in the review that you might want to sing a song, another song or
It's,
two, just to showcase your talent as well. And you said that's going to happen. Tell me
it's
how
gonna
the
happen.
show,
Yeah.
tell me
Music's
what
got
you
the
learned
heart.
from the first performance to what's going to happen on October 22nd.
Just to kind of, I mean, all the things that people liked are coming back. We are utilizing our wonderful background singers for a couple more numbers, which
Great.
I
They were
think
awesome. Yeah.
they're great, and so quick. So we might as well
Yeah.
get some more mileage out of
Yeah.
them.
We have a couple of things to massage. We do talk about Taylor Swift a little bit. And of course, some news has come out about Taylor and her relationship that all Pennsylvanians are not happy about, or at least Philadelphians are not happy about. So we're gonna have to massage that patter a little bit to kind of figure out where that lays. But I also had a couple comments. They're like, "Well, why didn't you just sing Taylor Swift?" I'm like, maybe you're right. I don't know.
We, we have to have a meeting with Jamie Beeman, our
I was just going to
director.
say, James
So
Beeman is your director, and he's kind of emerged as the it guy now, so that's awesome. I'm sure he can help you with that.
But yeah,
So,
well, the part of the reason why we're working with Jamie is because I saw these shows with like Goldie and Richard, and I was like, I love the storytelling that's taking place here. I want him to help us with our show.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that was the stumbling block for a long time because for years I've been playing other people's cabarets. I not necessarily in the Max circle as much, but some concerts and stuff at 54 Below. And Christy's like, I don't like cabaret. It's dumb. No one cares about me. No one's gonna want to hear what I have to say. It's self-indulgent. It's this, it's that. And then I'm like, but the auditions aren't really, we're not getting the traction that we want. I want to share your talent. I want people to know what you do. And then she, so I encouraged her to see, I think it was Richard's Hello Dolly show. And then she came to see the Newly show as well. And then she's like, I can get behind this. It seems like it's serving a function. It's not self-indulgent. It's not just an excuse to pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, I feel like I had just seen way too many cabarets. The girls were like, I'm 22 and I just got off the bus from Okeechobee and I sang Meadowlark in my senior recital in high school and now I will do that for you. And I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, I can't do
Yeah.
this. Um,
Well, there
but
are a lot, to be fair, there are a lot of shows like that. And I think that your first show, you can be a little bit more self-autobiographical and it could be a little bit
yeah.
more about you, which your show is, and yet it's universal. We've all driven through, we know the political situation in the state. We know a lot of the singers that come from the state, and you touch upon all of them, but yours is not just this is who we are, it's why we are, which is a
Yeah,
Hmm.
I love that.
difference in the cabaret script, which I think James had a lot to do with.
Yeah.
He keeps us
Yeah.
from our bad selves in terms of making it braggadocious and more about, which I never want to do either on stage, but more about the universal aspect of why these songs relate to us as, blue collar people from a blue collar state,
Yeah. And even like the way that you talk about Waterbury, which I've worked in and know quite well, it's not just PA, it's a placeholder for underdogs. It's a placeholder for whatever your hometown is and the need to get out, but the regret and the complicated feelings you have about leaving.
Mhm.
So
And I think at the same time, there's a lot of this like regionality in the US, I think is being lost as we kind of get online more and stuff. And
oh yeah.
but I feel like, even though we grew up in completely different towns in Pennsylvania, we have like I feel like Pennsylvanians have such this like they have a lot of very common experiences,
Hmm.
whether it's things like the soft pretzels that they sold at our schools or the hoagie sales for the band or stuff like that and getting to share some of that like that regionality with people who may not know that even in these small pockets of the US there's still these like little cultural bubbles that exist, so getting to talk about that and share that with other people is really fun and exciting for me, but also learning how other people from like little small places seem to have
What's your soft pretzel?
yeah seem to have a
Now,
lot
what's
in
your
common with
soft pretzel? That's the name of your next show. What's your soft pretzel? That sounds dirty. So your show is coming up Wednesday, October 22nd at 7 p.m. at the beautiful Chelsea table, which I love. That's where you played the last time, and it worked really well there because you
Yeah.
guys have like a big little band. Your stage is just packed with backup singers and awesome musicians and everything. So I can highly recommend, and I'm doing a special edition of Sue's Muse just because I want everyone in our community to go see these two, not only because we've all come to love Dan as a musical director and we should support him now that he's up front and doing a show, but when I tell you that Chrissy has one of the most extraordinary voices and honest, authentic stage presence that I've ever seen, ever in
Oh,
cabaret,
thank you so
you
much.
really don't want to miss this show. So this postcard and a direct link to ticket sales will be right below this interview. Um, Tell me, just in closing down this quickie little interview, I just really wanted our viewers to get to know you too and to consider coming to your brilliant show. What was, for each of you, what was your best advice received either from an educator or a mentor that you still carry with you, either personally or as a performer to this day?
Oh man.
Yeah, I should
Man,
probably
that's
have told you that before the interview to think
yeah.
about.
There's kind of a, I don't want to call it a cliche, but I play a lot of auditions, and so I kind of go to a lot of audition workshops and mentor things. And my friend Michael, who was my mentor at Goodspeed, told actors often that you don't audition to get your jobs, auditioning is your job. To kind of take a step back from that, um, in this community, so many you're always kind of a presence, and so your professionalism, how easy you are to work with, is all a part of you know trying to get ahead and make connections.
Creating your
So
brand, you know, yeah,
yeah,
creating your brand as a professional. Yeah.
and I think it was pointed out to me one time that when you're doing a show, directors can be a little eccentric and crazy, choreographers can be a little eccentric and crazy. They go away on opening night, but the conductor, the music director, has to stay
Mhm.
and conduct the entire run and work with all the actors and work with all the technical people. So I've always tried to be someone who's easy to work with.
Mhm.
I have always tried to keep an even keel and be kind and collaborative, and that's kind of been a guiding principle for me.
Mhm.
In addition to musical excellence, just be someone who you want to be in the room with working.
And just by the way, before Chrissy answers, Dan, I've worked with Dan before, just walked in, ran a song and done one-offs, we call them here, park and barks. And, I always got from you what I needed. And I have seen you play for other people. And if other people have a pitch thing or whatever, there's Dan just moving his hands to make it better. I note these things in musical directors. So if you guys are looking, there's my phone again. It always happens. If you guys are looking for a musical director too, and have a special project, I can highly recommend Dan on that level as well. So Chrissy, what was your mentor advice, if you can remember something?
I have a couple of things, and what's coming to mind right now is it's not so much it's I don't remember who specifically said this to me, but I feel like you hear this from a lot of people where you kind of never know what connection you make with someone will
Right.
lead to something down the road. And this is something I think about a lot because we have a weekly residency at the Hotel Edison where we do a happy hour every Friday from 5 6. And we kind of just sing whatever we want. But we try to do a lot of show tunes because we know there's a lot of people staying at the hotel that are here to do Broadway and see Wicked and now Mamma Mia and all the popular Broadway shows and stuff. So but the reason why I got this gig is because when we were in music school, there was one of the seniors in the flute studio where I was studying. He he was a flute performance major, but he also loved musical theater and he also played piano really well. And this was 20 years ago at this point. But I would go to parties at his apartment and we would sing show tunes and we would have a lot of fun. And then he graduated and I was kind of in touch with him on social media. Well, when we came back from the pandemic, he calls me and he's like, I have this weekly gig at the Hotel Edison. And again, I met this person 15 years ago. And he's like, I have this gig and my singer isn't coming back. Can you do this weekly thing with me? And I was like, oh my God, yeah. And that's how I got this gig from this guy whose parties I went to in
Mhm.
a dorm room in Westchester, Pennsylvania in 2006.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, seriously, their story goes on. Well, guys, thank you so much for spending some time with me. We'll get
Of
this up
course.
right away. And those of you out there, please, please, please consider going to the show. It's during Cabaret Convention Week, and I know a lot of you don't go to Cabaret Convention, but if you find yourselves free that night, Wednesday, October 22nd at 7 p.m. at Chelsea Table, the link for tickets will be right down below. And don't forget to like and share this little promo with you. Thank you for spending some time with us. You guys are incredible. I could feel your love for each other and for your music on stage, and I can't wait to see the show again. So, bring it back a couple more times before the end of the year if you can, because I
I'm
want to
gonna try.
see it. Yeah, I want everybody to go see it. All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you next time on Sue's Muse. Thank you, Chrissy and Dan Pardo, and we'll see
Thanks,
you on
Sue.
stage very soon.